there is a statement that is frequently made that data is the new oil. But we all know that while you can extract oil, it needs to be refined and processed to become useful. And all our organizations have lots of data, and we are adding more every day. But extracting insights from the data is often a very tedious and a frustrating task. How many people have done BI? Data warehouse, data marts. So we have today with us Rishi Beri from Qlik, who will describe how a cloud-ready analytical platform can simplify the implementation and use of BI tools. Rishi has more than 8 years of experience in the BI domain and is currently a pre-sales consultant with Qlik India. He is primarily responsible for working with customers and partners to design BI strategy for enterprises and to manage solution delivery and full lifecycle implementation. So he's going to talk about a cloud-ready analytical platform. Please welcome on stage Rishi Beri from Qlik.
Thanks. Yeah, I would be requiring this. This is my laptop. So, okay. So good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining in. I'm Rishi Beri. I look after the North pre-sales for Qlik India. Today we have a very small presentation on. I would not bore you. I would try not to bore you, I would say. I'll talk about what Qlik is all about, what we are here for, the analytics, what has been the impact of being changed, the dynamics of the analytics world altogether, and then we'll see Qlik in action. Seeing is believing what we believe as an organization. A demo carry forward then. Okay, so just to introduce my organization, so we are Qlik. We were founded in Lund, Sweden, and now we are headquartered at US. So we have more than 40,000 customers, catering to each and every domain if I talk about, and more than 2,400 people in the organization. The important thing in this chart is the aggregated growth that you see. For the last 10 years, it is approximately 27%. And if you look at the market of BI specifically, it's growing at the rate of 8 to 10%. So this clearly shows that how we are able to capture the market share in this particular space. If you talk about the 45,000 customers, these are some of the big names globally. And specifically, if I talk about the Indian customers, you take the name of any of the industry, the top player of the industry would be working with us, be it Airtel for telecom, Mahindra for automobile, Canon for manufacturing and technology, take name of anyone. So we are spread across any of the industries that is being followed. And then specifically, I'll be talking about the shift that has happened in the market space of BI. There is a change in the perception of the user. There's a perception change in the IT, as in how they want to govern the overall environment. There is a change and there is a shift in the personas in the organization which is actually changing. So I'll be talking about these 3 parameters which are primarily responsible for those change. One is, of course, data. We have been hearing about the data. We've been hearing about the managers since the morning. Without having a tool that can help actually enable you to get the insights of those data sets, the manager would not do anything and the data would be just a source of information. And if I talk specifically about the data, there is a huge data set which is around the globe, which is increasing day by day. And if I go with just the surveys, by 2020 it would just double the size what it is today. So there's a huge data set, and nobody, I would say there would be somebody who would not think that this system of mine is also a data source for some of the key persons in the organization. It can track what Rishi Beri is doing day in and day out. He can track probably what videos I'm seeing, what data I'm extracting, what things am I doing on this particular source. So there are multiple sources of information, and till the time that you get the information from all the sources, you combine them together to make a decision that will help your organization grows is important. And this is the major reason for the change which is happening in the BI market. The other thing is explosion of the computing power. If I specifically talk about the computing power, we as in technology has been into this in-memory technology for the last 24 years. And we were the leaders in those technologies when the hardware cost was so high. In 1999, I bought a desktop, was given by my father, 50,000 rupees, and it was just having 16 MB of RAM. Wow. Now my mobile would have more RAM than what I bought in 1999. So, but the thing is, how to compute the power, how to leverage the resources of your systems is really important, and this is where you add your data to the computing power that your devices, your applications would have to help the activists in your organization. And it was believed some few years back that the IT is the whole core responsible persons in the organization who actually helps the business organization to take decision. But it's not the case now. The case has now changed. The business users, they want to do their things the way they want it, rather than IT restricting them to what they want to actually see. So there's a perception change in this particular aspect where the information activist within the organization has actively participating in the decision making of the organizations. And to add to this particular point, there are three types of user majorly. You would see these people in the organization. One is the data scientists, the business analysts, and the business users, which is at the end. And these are the various responsibilities which they have. The data scientist is responsible for doing all those crap in the organization, and the business analyst would just interpret what the analyst would give them, and the business user would just consume what they are providing. Now I would say that was the game 5 years back, but now the things have changed. The data model and the model creations and the governance is the only part which is being taken care by the data scientist. And of course, any of the organization, there would be no more than 2 data scientists in the organization. But the business analysts and the business users have actually taken the responsibilities to manage, understand, analyze the data the way they want it, and help them grow the organization in the next steps. The other thing that actually have changed the market space is this particular diagram, if you see, and I've highlighted the visualization aspect. Everybody, I would agree to, everybody, if I ask anybody that what is the things that you look after the analytics, everybody would say visualization. Beautiful pictures will definitely give you the answer. No, it's not like that. There are more things which comes before the visualizations, and there are use cases which goes ahead the visualization space. What comes before the visualization is how do you acquire the data? How do you massage the data, transform the data? Because there might be a products which have multiple stacks of components which brings them together to create a visualization, right? But what comes before that is really important, and how do we cater to this particular aspect is we can connect to any of the data sources, be it at cloud, be it on premise. If there is no connectivity to that, REST connectivity is the one which actually helps you. Then the storage. As I talked about in the first slide, that the data size would double by 2020, and imagine if you're storing that information in your systems like that, how much data consumption would it have and the storage would it have? To have a capability within the product, how do we compress the information? And we as in technology are the pioneer in this. How do we compress the information up to the 90%? Of course, it's dependent on the data types that you have, but we compress up to 90% of the information which is there in the source information. And then you can decide 1 GB of information versus 100 MB of information. Which one would be the fast? Then of course, as I talked about the stacked products, which have the component which is specifically maintaining the ETL. How do we manage multiple components within the environment? So that is the biggest challenge for the IT today, managing multiple components. And we as an organization believe that there should be a one product which should do all the ETL things, all the analysis, all the visualizations, and the other use cases that might arise in the organization, which actually starts from the guided, which is primarily the thing which every organization would look like. Because if I'm the CIO of the organization, I would not want to get into the details, churn the data, and then bring something outside. No, I want every day to have my major KPIs to be seen the way I want it, that's it. There might be another case, as the other people in the organization, which might feel that, okay, 7 a.m. in the morning, I should probably, as a business user, should know what was my target, what have I achieved, and what are the customers today I would be meeting, probably. So these are some reports which is actually required. The other thing is the mobility aspect of it. Rahul also talked about the mobility aspect, how it is changing the cloud and all those things. because every user has a different device, for them to consume. If I'm on my way, I would be probably using my iPhone. If I'm in my office, I'll probably use, my laptop. If I'm suppose at my home, I would probably have a desktop, and so on and so forth. So I have multiple devices to cater the information in the same way. But yes, mobility is the new way forward for the analytics to grow. And you cannot have multiple applications for the multiple devices in your organization. And last but not the least, the custom application and the embedded part, wherein you as an organization would have portals, right? You would not want your users to travel from or traverse from one portal to the another to just get the analytics. The analytics should be part of your portals, not the way around. So these are some of the use cases and the things which comes after visualizations. So visualization definitely is important, because ultimately you will try to understand the data, but that is not the only thing that should matter for you as the managers of the organization to take a decision of the visual analytics platform. And to cater to that, there are three things that you should probably keep in mind while deciding, even today or a year or later. You should keep in mind the three things. One is the governance, because for organizations like financial organizations, data is important. Whom do you give the access of the data? What a user can do with that data is something that you need to govern. And governance is the important aspect in any of the analytics product, because you are getting the churn data, right? If you are giving the raw data, that's a different thing, but you are giving them the full-fledged platter of information. The other thing is, of course, the data, which I've talked about. So data is really important. How do you actually give the access to the data to a particular user to access and get information out of it? Last but not the least, the platform. It's not just the visualization story that I'm probably telling you. It is more than that. The use cases that might arise, which you might not even thought of, it will happen in 6 months time or so on and so forth. So these are the three major things that you should probably keep in mind while deciding what the way forward for your organization should be for the analytics. And yes, I talked about the various use cases. One is the guided or the centrally deployed environment. Then comes the self-service, wherein the user would want to do the all sort of analytics on top of it. The collaboration and the reporting is the other use cases that we see. The custom applications and the embedded part of it, and the geo-analytics. So geographically, how would you analyze the data? Huge data, to get more information out of it. So we as an organization give you a platform which will not just serve your visualization needs, but will cater all the use cases which might arise in your organization. And we have a good portfolio, and the best part is, I talked about the stacked. We are also stacked. So we have multiple components catering to the multiple use cases. But the best part is, here the Qlik associative engine that we have, which is the baseline for all the products that we have, so that you do not have to redundant your data or your efforts to provide different sort of use cases within the organization. Just the names, if you want to note down, might be a question in your question and answers. I would immediately remove this. Okay, so let's get into the demo directly. Just give me 2 minutes. I'll have to just. I think everything should be fine here. Okie dokie. Okay, so we have a very different paradigm in terms of the analytics. Most of the products that you would see in the market space, some would say that the on-premise is different from the cloud version that they have. Some would say that it's a desktop-centric, you need to install somewhere the thick client and do the creation and then give something to the business users and so on and so forth. But what we say is, everything is on browser. You create, you analyze, and you take decision and collaborate within the same environment. You do not have to install the thick clients, which might be a challenging for the organizations to be in. The other thing is, of the governance part is, what we do is we bifurcate the information into multiple streams, multiple informations. So if you see the banking, these are the streams, everyone, geoanalytics, healthcare. So whatever access I need to give to the user, I'll be able to manage it from here. Or if I talk about the granularity of the data, if I'm from the north, I would see the north data. If you are from the south, you would probably see the south information, and so on and so forth. So the demo which I'm going to show you today is, just let me brief you about the data which it has. It is a comprehensive data of the sales, the operations, the logistics, and multiple information about the salesperson who is selling what, where, blah, blah. So it has lots of information. I'll let you know. So I'll be a regional head of the organization which is trying to optimize the operational efficiency within the organization and wants to analyze the major KPIs that he wants to probably see. So, oops. Okay. My mouse is not working. Let me just, this is a challenge. Okay, so let me just get into the application first. So being a regional manager, I'm interested in to understand what are the margins which I'm getting for the various products which I have, which salesperson is doing well, how, and whether performing or not, or how many shipments which I have to cater to the information. But as the head of the organization, I would not want to see these much of information. I want to search the information. And if suppose in your normal life you have any question, what you would probably do? 90% of you would be Googling it. You will Google it, you will get the answers, probably if you're lucky. In a similar way, we have a global search which helps you get the information about the data and the analytics that you want to look at. For example, if I want to look at the low performers in my organization who is probably in the eastern region selling the vegetables, for example. So what I'll do is I'll just start typing the the low performers in the eastern region, oops, selling the vegetables. So there are two things that you see. On the top, you see the various visualization which has the information corresponding to the low performers in the eastern region selling the vegetables. The other set of information that you get is the association. Because I talked about the various data sources that you might have, how do you actually correlate them together is something the association, the patented technology of Qlik does for you. Nobody else in the world can do it. And this is what the information is. Now let me expand my search. I want to see whether Rishi is the low performer in the eastern region selling the vegetables. So what I'm going to do is just Rishi. Wow, unlucky. I'm a low performer in the eastern region and I'm selling vegetables. And what are those information? I would just click on it. Everything changes on the basis of the selections or the search which I have tried to do. Now I, as an individual, know in the eastern region I'm getting 40% margins, 86% is my achievement on the on-time shipment which I'm doing, which is not approximately just on a border of what my organization wants to look at. So this is how easy is to get the information from the multiple source of information in a single place without even wondering what the association is all about. Now I would be interested to understand the efficiency of the on-time shipments which my organization is doing. You see that overall I have 86% of the shipments on time, right? But as in benchmark of my organization, 85% is the one which is there. But I clearly look at, if I can expand this, I talked about mobility. Because you cannot restrict your business user to bring a specific device with them to do the analysis. So we as an organization believe that mobility is the aspect, and take the any type and shape of the device, we'll take the shape and the size of the particular chart and information. So I know that, okay, there are many instances, oops, there is some problem with the VGA. There are instances wherein we have less than what the benchmark is of the organization. And I want to get deeper into it. So what I'll do is I'll just close this and get to the analysis of the order shipments. So I'm into the order details now. Now, this is the map. Now first I want to see the various states where I'm doing the business. So these are the various states if you recognize something of this sort. So this is the India map with the various states of it. I'm more interested to understand where my warehouses are, because ultimately I would need to optimize the overall delivery. So if I just make it visible, so now I know where all in my overall India space, where all my warehouses are. So I know that where my majorly warehouses would be. But because my organization has set an benchmark that with each warehouse, I would be able to deliver it up to a 200 kilometers range only to better optimize it. So I want to see what is the 200 kilometers. So if I can zoom out the Delhi warehouse. So what we are doing is, we are not just creating the rectangles or the circles, if you can see the area map. We are basis the roads which are available and the time frame which is applicable. I can define the path and the area corresponding to it, which areas I can cater to within 200 kilometers range. Now, this is not important for me. What it is important for me is where my customers are, of course. Those are the most important things. So let me just see where my customers are. The red dots now you see are various of my customers. Now, looking at that perspective, I'm more interested to understand now is which city is giving me more orders. So if I look at this diagram, I'm just get into the data exploration menu. The other part of it, I have the flexibility to interact with the data, move around, zoom in, zoom out, whatever I want. I can probably select the various axes if I want to, or within the same chart, because this is the scenario which we see most of the organization faces is, it's just the dimension change that you need to do and you create multiple charts, right? This is the challenge. Now, to cater to that challenge is, for example, if I want to see the sales reps, or if I want to see the distributors, on the same chart, I'm just changing the dimensions and looking at the information. For example, if I want to look at the on-time shipments of the same, or I want to look at the order counts, I can immediately change those perspectives immediately. I would like to discard this, and then I would be probably interested in seeing the orders which is more than 1,000 in nature. Immediately I come to know that Bangalore is the outlier. The most of the orders comes from Bangalore. So if I could zoom in here and now want to see from Bangalore city, the closest warehouse is in the Tamil Nadu region, right? But it is outside the range of my organization, which is for the 200 kilometers. I want to see from where to where my orders are getting shipped. So if I can see this, now, this is the challenge of my organization. If I specifically look at the bottom south, you would see that there are many instances, more than 1,600 orders that has been placed from Dehradun to Tamil Nadu. Now, this is kind of an efficiency which immediately with this kind of an association and the visualization, I can get the information. The other part of it is, if I look at from the other regions, see here, from Assam to Bangalore, I am shipping. So how much cost I am implicating in these operational, disefficiency which I am doing in the organization, how I can improve those. Now, to improve those, I need to do collaboration, right? I need to give this information as a regional head. I want to give this information to some salesperson or the operational person. What I'm going to do is, I'm just going to, from the screenshot, I'm going to take a screenshots. Let's take city-wise orders. Because governance is important. What your user is doing, you as an IT should be aware of. Whether I'm exporting the information, why I'm taking this, it's important. So I can take multiple screenshots, whatever I want to, or if I want to take the screenshot of this. Now, the best way of collaborating is in your real-time environment is PPTs. That's the best and the simplest way. You take a sniping tool, you take a pictures of those and put it into the presentation and try to present it to the colleagues or your management. But the things have changed. Within the environment itself, you have a storytelling wherein you can create your stories. The screenshots which you took with the comments which I have put in, at what time I am taking a snapshot, I have those information. I would just drag and drop onto my canvas. Let's say this, or if I want to add a title to it, let's say the orders, and then probably if I want to include a sheets into this, let's say the KPI dashboard, I can even do that. Within few seconds, I was able to analyze that there is a non-efficiency which is happening at the Bangalore region, and the number of orders are this. I can probably showcase this. Now, think of a scenario, if I'm presenting this to you, you might ask, Rishi, you have just shown me for the cities which is giving me orders more than 1,000, what about the others, right? You might have. But if I'm in a traditional way, I have to go back to my seat, churn the data again and bring back to you. But with the Qlik environment, you have the flexibility to directly go from the presentation to your source, because everything is associated, and now you can select these cities which are excluded or which I have excluded, and then probably show the information about the other regions, how they are performing. So you would see that Mumbai and Bodh Gaya is the one which is giving me more revenues, and you can get back to the presentation of yours. And then once you are there, you can continue to whatever story you are trying to tell. So the idea here was, you are analyzing it, you are creating a presentation to present it, to collaborate, so that the single point of truth is there in your environment, so that everybody in your hierarchy is looking at the same information, rather than you saying that some amount is sales or amount is sales, for example. So to bring everything together in the way the truth has to be there within the organization is something there. Now, the other thing which might be of interest is, now I showed you this, there would be a scenario wherein a user would say, okay, whatever IT has given me, I'm not interested in. I want something more out of the particular data sets. So I can create something of mine by just creating a new sheet. So you remember, everything is on browser. So I'm analyzing it. I'm now going to create onto the browser itself. And it's just like a drag and drop. For example, if I want a bar chart suggesting me the various regions and corresponding sales, let's say sales, I get the information. If I want a scatter chart to give me the information about the various products and corresponding sales and the quantity corresponding to it. Or if I want to have some measures within that to let me know the average sales which I'm having, or the budget which I have for the quarter or something of that sort. So within fractions of second, I was able to create the information immediately without even relying on the IT to give me something which I actually want, and create everything on the front end. That's it. So that's it from the demo perspective. Just to brief, it's all about you as in CIOs of the organizations to actually decide the path which your organization would like to take in terms of the analytics. The things that you need to keep in mind is, it should not be just a visualization story that you should buy. You should even think of the multiple use cases which might arise in your organization to help you take decisions in a better way in your organization. Thank you. Yeah, question and answers, if there are any. Okay.
What is the data that used for storing this?
So we don't have any sort of database. So what we do is, we fetch the information from your multiple sources. We compress it in our proprietary format, which is QED, by any chance. So what we do is, we just compress it in our local drives. That's it. We don't require any specific database to be enabled with us. That's it. Host the solution? Yes. So what the things which I showed you are completely browser based. So you can host it on your any other portal that you want to host it, or to the cloud, or it can be anywhere.
Does Qlik provide any environment that we can host it?
No, as of now we don't. But we do also have a solution for the clouds. But that is not for the big enterprises. It is specifically right now is for the SMBs to cater to.
Rishi, is this scheduling is possible in this scheduling, data scheduling?
Yeah. Of course, it's a if you remember the diagram, visualization one, I talked about the acquisition of the data and the transformations of the information. So we schedule the information. It could be a real time, or it could be a near real time. It can be any.
Okay. Our data is synchronized after second to seconds, okay? Data synchronizations.
Data? Synchronization.
Okay.
Yes, this is what I'm
And your QVD is based on the metadata only.
No, not just the metadata. We fetch the
You are
data also.
fetching the data with a time based, no?
I didn't get your question.
We are fetching a data or partially basis or time based.
Okay, it can be an incremental also.
Okay, incremental. But I want the same data, so whatever the data is put on my database server is synchronized also the same in your QVDs also.
Yes.
How is possible?
So we just fetch the information, and there is
Every time we need to synchronize the data from the database to your QVDs.
Yes, to our
Or
QVDs.
partially, okay.
So it depends. If you want to bring your data in our storage, which is more efficient in nature and more fast in the performance perspective, but if you want your data to reside at your database level, we can do that as well.
The simultaneously with the same data will not synchronize.
Yeah, it can change. It's an incremental thing which will happen. Still it will happen in both of the scenarios.
His question is, what is the gap between synchronization?
So it can be real time, it can be near real time, it can be any.
Yeah, Rishi, if we talk about the data centers here, if we talk about data centers, we use building management systems to monitor the data points of the data center. So what is the mechanism we can use to integrate that BMS system to Qlik solution, and how does it work?
Yeah, as I said that there are two ways to do it. One is you get the information or all of the data sets to our servers and churn it the basis you want to do it. The other is, since you have invested heavily on the data centers, you might want to leverage the resources of the data centers, and we can definitely leverage your resources over there. So we can do all those calculations and just render the information onto our portal. That is possible.
Use APIs, how you put the data from?
Yes, so it's a technology. So we have various methodologies to cater to these kind of a use cases, wherein the big data sources or the sources which might handle the resources which is required, we can leverage those in that perspective. So it can be an API also, it can be REST APIs also, or it can be a direct connectivity through an OLEDB or ODBC sources also. It can be anything.
Yeah, Rishi, I have two questions.
What will be the additional computing power and the resource that will use?
So we just require CPUs for calculations and RAM for storing the information.
How much?
So it depends on the data sizes that you have, the concurrency that might be there on your servers, depends on the number of users that would be accessing those information, and the application sizes that you want to cater to.
I will give you a scenario. Let's take I have a 1 lakh users of an antivirus server giving the antivirus logs and all, and I have a same solution giving somewhere around 30 minutes logs per minute or so. So I need a real-time analysis between both.
So we won't fetch any information from our side. We'll just connect to your logs directly, and we'll do all those calculations. Now it's not our responsibility for doing the calculations. It's now your logs environment which will do the calculations for me. I would just render the information. Just to give you an example of the big data that you talked about, or the number of users. So we have, everybody would know Candy Crush. If you, so it's a, the company for the same uses the Qlik environment for doing the analysis, and they have humongous data. So what they do it for the analysis is how many users are active, how many are not playing just because they are not able to complete a level, and so on and so forth, to give the various types of magic tricks and all. So we analyze such kind of a humongous data, and they have the number of users are quite high. And of course, for catering to these kind of a use cases, we actually require the resources at our level also. So it's not just that we can only rely on the data level, but it also has to rely on the servers where the computation needs to be happening. So it depends.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, so Rishi, I have one comment and two questions. So thanks for such an excellent demo. I believe we have seen used Qlik in past as well, but some of the features were really good to see and probably were not explored by us.
Okay.
So thanks for
that.
Two questions. One is, are there some inbuilt connectors which can be leveraged for SAPs and ERPs of the world?
Yes, we do have certified SAP connectors, not only with the SAP R3 or the ECCs, but also for the data warehouses as well. So if you have done any of the investments at the SAP level, we'll be able to, through our connectors, leverage those investments that you've done.